Hi and welcome back. So a few weeks ago, in the first episode in fact, I reviewed a fragrance called Belly of the Whale. And in the comments, Richie Rich asked me, how does Belly of the Whale compare with Black Caviar from Electimuss? Well, Richie, I finally got hold of a sample of Black Caviar, and in this episode, I'm going to give you my comparison.
Shut up and sit down.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to initially spray some Belly of the Whale on my left arm, and I'll just give you a recap of what that was like in case you missed the first episode. And then I'll put some Black Caviar on my right arm, and I'll try and give you a comparison of how it compares to Belly of the Whale. I'm not looking to say one is superior to the other. This is not a head-to-head contest, but Richie did ask for the comparison. And because I don't have the time in this episode to wait for the dry down, what I did do yesterday, I sprayed 2 paper strips. So this one was sprayed with Belly of the Whale, this one with Black Caviar. And so it's 24 hours later now, I can give you my impression of the deep dry down on both scents. I haven't looked at the note lists for these. I have in the past for Belly of the Whale. I printed off the note list for Black Caviar just a moment ago. I haven't even read it. I don't want to read it. I don't want to be influenced by it. I will just give you my impressions off the cuff, but then I will look at those afterwards and see how my impressions compare with the official note list. So let's get into it. The Belly of the Whale first. I'm going to put some of this on the left arm, and that's that. It's very effusive. I can smell that in the air. When I put my arm up, I can smell, as I recall, this opening is quite herbaceous, I would say. What's in there, what jumps out at me is kind of a rosemary, maybe a little bit of lavender going on in there as well. And underneath that, there's a bit of vanilla. So there's this kind of sweetness about it as well. And a little bit of some sort of wood coming through there as well. It's more of a creamy wood, like a sandalwood type smell. It's very pleasant, and I would describe it as a woody amber with some top notes of herbs. It's very nice, but it really doesn't fit the marketing description. So the marketing description for that perfume is the whole story of Eunice or Jonah and his misadventure in the belly of a whale. And I really don't see that perfume fitting the brief on that. So now let's look at the Electimuss Black Caviar, and I've got this little sample bottle here, which I'll spray on the right arm. It's not a bad sprayer actually for a sample. And this one's quite strong in the air as well. All right. Not what I expected. So this, in the initial opening anyway, is quite spicy and fresh, almost like a designer perfume. I'm searching for some sort of sea salt black caviar smell. So I've eaten black caviar, and if you've eaten black caviar, you know what it smells like, or tastes like and smells like. It's a little bit fishy, and it's definitely salty. It's a bit like, I don't know, maybe oysters, but more salty than oysters. It's got that kind of fishy animalic smell to it, but a lot of salt in there as well. Not really getting any of that right now, but it is early in the opening. So we'll let that sort of flash off a little bit, the top notes there, and maybe I'll get into the heart of it in a few moments. Because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to describe the full wear on this, as I said, I've sprayed the 2 perfumes on paper 24 hours ago, so we're right into the deep dry down now, and I'm just going to smell Belly of the Whale for you. And Belly of the Whale is pretty much how it opened. The herbs are still there. They've kind of backed off a little bit, and the vanilla's coming through more now. So we're left with still a woody amber kind of sandalwood vanilla smell. Quite pleasant and quite like an incense smell. So I think I described this in the first episode as being meditative, and I'd still call it that. It's a nice perfume to just wear around the house when you're reading a book or listening to music or just relaxing. It's a very wearable perfume. Let's have a look at this Black Caviar strip here. Interesting. Wow. Okay. So now we're down into the marine side of it. It has transitioned a lot. This one is now coming through with that saltiness that I was expecting in the opening. And there's some woods in there as well. Not sure. It's not. It could be an oud wood. There's a zing to it and a bit of an animalics smell, which is what I would expect from a black caviar. So it could be ambergris, I'm thinking. Or it could be some sort of, funky oud wood smell. But definitely now that's now living up to its name, more so than when it opened. If I go back to my arm now, yeah, it's still quite spicy. There's some wood, but almost like a grassiness coming through in that now too. And a bit of maybe a sort of peppery type of smell. Okay, so where does that leave us? Well, I won't say any more about belly of the whale because I've said everything there is to say about that. But coming across to black caviar, so black caviar is kind of confusing to me. I'm just going to look at the notes list that I printed off for black caviar. So here we go. Top notes are caviar, whatever that is, agarwood, okay, so there's some oud in there, and cedarwood. All right. Heart notes of lavender, sage, and rosemary. Now that's interesting because, yeah, I can smell the lavender in there, definitely. But I get more of lavender and rosemary in belly of the whale. Interesting. It smells like they're actually cooking. I think I said in the first episode that the rosemary is a bit like when Mum puts a lamb roast in the oven with rosemary on it. And that smells more like cooked rosemary as opposed to in here. And there's more lavender forward in the heart notes here coming through. And then in the base notes, we've got vetiver, patchouli, and oak moss. Okay, so it could be the vetiver I was smelling, that grassiness coming through now. But what are we now, 10 minutes in? It's not smelling like a marine scent. However, on the 24-hour strip, it's definitely turned salty. So it takes a while for that saltiness to come through. So this is a nice creation. It's a little bit, I like the fact that there is a transition here, unlike Belly of the Whale, because I like perfumes that take me on a journey and tell a story. The trouble is with this is the story is kind of a bit disjointed. So you start off with this kind of fresh, spicy opening, which is more like a classical kind of designer perfume. And then you finish up in the dry down, or at least the deep dry down, in this marine smell, more like a niche marine, which is more in keeping with the name of black caviar. I prefer that dry down to the opening, to be honest. What would I score this? I'd give it maybe a 7.5. And it's not that it's a bad perfume, it's a very good perfume, but it's confusing and it makes me wonder why the perfumer put this kind of spicy, fresh opening in there. The only thing I can think of is that top notes to me are always the perfumer's gift to the retailer. So when you think about it, if the retailer's putting scent strips under your nose, the last thing they want is for you to go, oh, gee, that's a bit of a shock with some crazy top note. So they're always going to make the top kind of pleasant and spicy and fresh and clean because that's what people want to smell when they're in a shop. And the problem with that is that you're not buying the top notes because they're going to be gone in half an hour. What you're buying is the heart notes and the base notes. And if you were buying Electimuss Black Caviar on just someone putting a strip under your nose, you'd think you were buying this almost like a classic designer perfume. And what you finish up with is this kind of niche marine. To me, it falls short. It's not going to be a great designer perfume, and it's not going to be a great niche marine. It's definitely not a mega mare. It's not a zoologist Portuguese man of war. So what is it? What's it trying to be here? It's confusing. And so for that reason, I would only give it a 7.5 and not higher. So I rate that probably half a point higher than Belly of the Whale. I think it's a more interesting perfume than Belly of the Whale. But where I live, Black Caviar sells, I think, for about $500 a bottle for a 100ml bottle. So that's a pretty expensive perfume. And I just don't think, well, I wouldn't rush out to buy it. There are better marine fragrances to me. There are better gourmands, if you consider this to be a gourmand. I mean, you might think Black Caviar is a gourmand fragrance. There's better gourmands. Baronda, the one I did last week, is a much nicer perfume than this as a gourmand. There are better marines, and there's probably much better spicy freshies. So, yeah, I wouldn't buy it. But that's me. I'm keen to know, Richie, if you're watching this, what are your impressions of this perfume? Because you've had time to wear it now. So how does it wear on you? What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? Do you think my assessment and my criticism is fair? Let me know your thoughts. And until the next episode, take care, stay safe, and enjoy your fragrance, whatever you wear.